Good day, fashion friends. I made a thrift trip only to look for certain things, maybe some Halloween things, and I came across this. It is a full-length duster, and it's pretty much a giant doily. Goes all the way to the floor. And I thought, that's a good start. So, let's make it better. Okay, so the first thing that I notice is it's not very full unless you pull it out. So it wants to kind of stay kind of back here, and I think it needs a little more down here. But this is curved. So I think my first action is to find something, split this open, and see if we can push this a little more forward. Now, I have this leftover lace from a tablecloth that I had cut the ruffle off for a previous project. So let's see if we can cut a little triangle and add one or two, maybe, I don't know. Let's try one lace panel and see if we can give this a little more fullness. Okay, so this curves down and also has a scalloped bottom. So, once you cut it, you cut it. Once you cut it, it's cut. So I'm going to very carefully cut up the center to here and leave it attached at the top, and then add a triangle of lace. And we'll see how this goes. I'm always afraid I'm gonna mess it up. Okay, I cut the first piece on the fold. I did 31 inches long, and I kept a little extra. And then, because this is a small piece, I took the piece that I cut and I put it the opposite direction because I could not get it to line up on the round part and not come into the middle or be uneven. So I put it the opposite way, straight side along this edge, and I'm going to cut this way and this way using this as my pattern. Also, I cut this 9 inches on the fold, so I have 18 to allow for seam allowance. And then I just need a little bit of seam allowance up top. So now I'm going to cut the second piece. Okay, 2 pieces of lace cut out. I'm going to put this on the inside, and I'm not going to pin it because it's going to be next to impossible, and I'm just going to go through, and I'm going to do a zigzag stitch all the way up and either down or back up the other way, depending on how this is going to fit on my machine. So I'm going to sew both panels into the sides. Okay, I have the 2 lace panels stitched in, and it definitely gave it some more zhuzh, made it a little bit fuller. Now I am going to take pieces of doily and just random little pieces and stitch them on all the way down to about there. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a bunch of doilies, and like on this one I'm going to cut the center out. Same on this one, cut the center out, cut some random shaped pieces. Same here, here, and I have like different colors and patterns. I have that one, this one, and this little baby one. And if I run out, I could probably dig a few more out, but if I run out, I think I'm going to use the last little bit of this scrap lace and just cut some pieces and bunch it together in between the doily pieces.
1 hour later.
Okay, I have one side complete, just all the random little pieces. Some pieces of lace. Oh, I got a little string. I ended up going in where these overlapped and just kind of like running a little stitch to get them to connect. Really digging that. Now I just have to do the other side. Okay, second side is complete. So now I kind of want to work on some sleeves. And I want to add more lace. So I have this piece of lace that I actually cut off of that tablecloth that I was using for the panel pieces. So what I did, I put it up here right about where my shoulder is, and it should definitely be long enough. Okay, but I'm going to double check my measurements, and I'm going to make some cute little sleeves. And if there is extra, I will most likely use all of this just to use it up. Okay, measuring the lace. I folded this in half, and it is about 21 inches. So, I need to measure the opening. I have a feeling I'm going to have extra, which is always good. Extra is always good. 15. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and turn this wrong sides out, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch this up and already have my sleeve ready to go now. Oh my god, are you kidding me?
Well, math is hard. Yeah.
I forgot about. Yeah, I don't have enough. Oh, so funny. And I don't have any more of this. Oopsie.
A few moments later.
Okay, so I measured out about 10 inches here, clipped it, went in, tried it on, and it is like way down, like to just a little past like my bra strap. So that should be plenty of room for somebody to get their arm in. So let's see, that is just gonna fit. So now what I'm going to do, I am going to turn this wrong side out. I'm going to shorten the armpit area and then stitch these together to make the sleeves, and then sew and or pin them on and then sew. Alright, here we go. I overlock stitched when I stitched the sleeve. I pinned it all the way around. It was actually perfect. And I stitched up the side right here, and I had to come all the way down so that's nice and even and not bulky. And I am digging it so that I will have two sleeves, of course, so they will both look like that, and it matches the lace on the side. So going to stitch these on, and I'm just going to zigzag stitch all the way around, because between the lace and the doily I want to make sure that I get a good sturdy stitch on the sleeves. Okay, so I'm going to try to show you how I pinned these sleeves on. So this is the area where I took it in. So I opened that seam, and I took the bottom of the sleeve where I had cut it and did the overlock stitch and matched that up with the underarm. And like I said, I had this little bit left over, which was perfect. Then I just put my duster fabric over top of that little lip, and then every so often I would pin it. And I'm going to have a little bit of a gap right there, but I'm going to get it as close as possible. And you know, I think that's where I'm going to pin that. There we go. So we're going to move that pin, and then we're going to come this way. Go to the next little indentation and pin that into place all the way around. Then I go around and do just a straight zigzag stitch. I don't follow this, I just keep going straight. Okay, next thing that I would like to do is put something over this lace that is going to match what's going on over here. So I found this doily, which should be big enough once I cut it off. I'm going to take this doily, which has a really cool dimension to it, and I'm going to trim this off, and hopefully it will fit, because I'm so good at that, right? So I have, oh, perfect. So I'm going to start it back here where it's going to overlap a little bit, and I'm going to pin it all the way across and then see where I need to fill in on that other end. So let me get this pinned on, I'll be right back. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch this on because it actually fit perfectly. I'm gonna have to tack this up a little bit with something, and then I'm going to fill in the rest of this space where I added the doilies, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I stopped. So I'm going to finish filling out this space so that there's something that goes all the way down and then around to the back. Okay, so I have that new piece added, and what I'm doing here, I'm taking this one of these little pieces of these 3 flowers, and I am tucking the new piece kind of over top of it, and I'm going to stitch this on, and then I'm going to go this way, and that's going to tack this loose little flower into place. Okay, it is the next day. I worked kind of like late into the night, early morning last night. So I'm going to show you what I have as best as I can. So did the front, added the sleeves. Not sure if I want to do anything else to them. We'll see. And then where I left off, I was adding more trim to the bottom. So let me show you what that looks like, because I don't have enough room. So there is the bottom that I finished. I had these 3 little flowers that I added. I had one little spot right here that I had to add. And then on the bottom of the lace, I found a doily that I cut the edge off and it fit perfectly. So now it is way more cohesive. I think what I want to do, I want to add something to the back. And I am normally a color person, like bright colors. But I gotta totally be outside of my box with this and stay subtle. But I think it needs just a little bit of color. So I dug through my box. I have this leftover lace. I have this kind of like beige rose gold ribbon. I went through a bag of scrap ribbon that I have, and I pulled out all of my pastel colors. And I found these 3 little velvet roses that I had made for another project, and the color scheme just wasn't working. So I have 2 small and 1 large. So I was thinking, what if on the back I stitch 1 rose here and 1 rose here, and then 1 on the other side. And then in addition, I make a scrap ribbon little thing. So I'm just gonna put this here. Not that much, of course, but just have some little colorful ribbons and lace hanging down, and just make like a little scrap tassel thing. So I took the leftover scrap fabric, and I'm going to cut some strips in the lace, and then use my scrap ribbon and this nice soft beige ribbon to make a like little tassel thing. Maybe one for the other ones a little bit shorter, but I just want something just hanging down and give it some motion. So that's what I'm going to work on next. Okay, so what I did, I went through my ribbon. I tried to spread out a lot of it. And I think I'm going to add that one and 1 more piece of lace. So now I took a small piece of lace. I took some beads, which these were kind of a pain to deal with. I gotta put a little dab of glue on that. Because they were strung, and I wanted to use them because, as always, I try to use what I have on hand. So I strung in like these little pearls in beads. It came with this kind of, I guess, damaged necklace. And then instead of sewing on these flowers, so I made these into pins, because in the event that if somebody wants to hand wash the garment for whatever reason after a while, they can take these off, and these don't have to go through the wash, and the fringe won't get tangled. So I just cut a short piece of lace, and I am just going to tie that, and I'm going to tie it 1 more time back here, and then I'm going to glue this little tassel to the back of the big rose. So now we have just all kind of fun little whimsy texture and motion and a little bit of color going on. Okay, so I got this glued on. I put a little piece of lace over this to kind of bind everything. And then when I put this on the flower, like wanted to droop, and you could see that it was a pin, so I took it back off and I cut a piece of felt and hot glued it so that it would give it some structure. So now it's not going to flop over. And now what I'm going to do, I want a little something in the center. So I have this mismatch earring that is just a little pearl with a little gold chain. So I am just going to take the clip back off of it, and I am just going to glue that right into the center. All right, and there we are, 1 pin complete. This petal likes to stay up. It's not gonna flop down. And it adds a little bit of color. And then whoever purchases this, if they would like to move it and put it on the front, they can do so. So they can kind of put this wherever they want. So now I'm just going to basically do similar concept with the other 2 flowers, and they will go there and there. Or they can move them up here if they want. So being that they're pins, they can move them around. So I think that was a better idea than sewing them on. Okay, the 3 rosette pins are complete. They are pinned on, and they have to go a little up to the top because that's where I put the pin, up above. And then I added 3 little pearls on the inside to kind of go with the earrings. So now we have a little bit of color, we have some texture and dimension, and I am going to call this finished because I don't know what else that I have that I can add to this. Okay, here we are, complete. A couple finishing touches that I did. I found a big hook that I don't know, took off something at some point. So I did give it a little closure in the front. And then I felt that the sleeves needed just a little something. I felt they were really too long and just too plain. So I had them on and I bunched them up just a little bit. So on the top, I pinched it up a little bit to make the top part a little shorter, and just pleated it like 2 or 3 times, stitched it by hand, added a little piece of ribbon and a pink rose, and I think it just adds just enough. And so I did that on both sleeves, of course. So here is the back. This is not fitting properly on the mannequin because it is so much wider. So now let's try it on and see what the whole thing looks like. All right, here it is on. There's the detail in the sleeve, and I feel that it definitely helps not coming over the hands. The little clasp in the front is just enough to hold it together and give that beautiful shape and spread this out, because gravity is working on the doily design and making it come a little thinner than what it should. So we want this to be spread out. So here is the full look. There is the back and the sleeves. So what do you think? Again, thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, welcome to my creative world. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because, as you know, we have to feed the algorithm dragon. Let me know down in the comments what you would like to see me work on next. Do you prefer denim mashups? Do you prefer cottagecore, fairy core, grandma core? Do I need to stick with denim, boho, leather? Tell me what you like to watch. I will see if I can make your vision a reality. As always, love, peace, and thrift, and we'll catch you on the flip side.